I really enjoy building Metcalfe kits. They're well designed, sturdy and great fun to put together. But I can never resist personalising them to make my models even better. So here's my 5 top hacks for tweaking your Metcalfe kit. Let's start with the simplest tweak. The windows in these kits are beautifully printed. I mean, look at these lovely Setland Carlisle, very complicated windows. The problem with them is they are very, very white. We didn't really see white paint on windows until the 1950s, 60s when ICI introduced it. So what we actually want is something a little bit toned down. Now, toning this stuff down isn't particularly difficult. All you do is take a perfectly ordinary pencil, rub it over the printed side of the window. You can tell it's slightly matter and you can see the thickness of the ink. Rub it over there. Then rub the pencil lead with your finger, and it just smudges it around and just takes the whiteness off the window, making it look a little bit more realistic. Okay, let's look at the biggest problem with card kits, and that is the corners are very visible. Now, you can see this is because the printing is on the outside, and when you fold the card kit, the corner has to be on the outside as well. Now, there are a few tricks to get around this. You can fill in the corner a bit with a colour that matches. In this case, pencil for the grey, but to be honest, it doesn't really show because you don't really notice the grey. Sometimes it's much easier to use a felt tip pen for bricks, and that gives you a colour that makes it look reasonably close to the colour of the wall. However, for stonework to start with, I like to use a bit of wood filler for that, and what I do is once I've built the building, I fill the corner with a little bit of wood filler, rub my finger up and down it just to smooth it into the corner nicely, and also provide a little bit of dirt just so it takes the edge off the filler colour, and then make the markings of the stones with a pencil, and it's pretty much invisible. So if I was doing that on this one, I'd fill in and then I'd mark across and cut across for the coins, and it would be pretty much invisible. If you look at this building I've done already, you can't see the corners, and that's because I've done exactly that trick on there. It works a treat. For bricks, it's a lot harder. You could fill in and then mark all the bricks, but it gets really fiddly. Now, some buildings you can get away with a bit of decorative brickwork, and so what I've done here is I've taken the spare sheets from Metcalfe, cut them out to sort of be attractive stepped brickwork and glued them into position. Now, that's not going to work for all buildings, but it certainly works for the for this particular shop, and I think certainly hides the effects very nicely. A more extreme way of dealing with the corners is to cover up all the printed brickwork with Slater's plastic card. Now, on my layouts, all the buildings are clad in plastic to give them a bit of relief, and so I do the same with the card buildings. Slater's plastic card comes as a big sheet of plastic embossed stuff. Various brick finishes are available, but they're all work exactly the same way. And all I do is take a sheet of plastic card, cut it out roughly to size, and U-hoo it into position over the building. You can compare the effects on these two boiler houses. The left one is as Metcalfe intended, and the right version is covered in plastic card. This means it sits really nicely within the rest of the layout, which is a mix of resin buildings, ready to plant buildings, and a couple of other altered kits. I have a little bit of an obsession with adding a bit of relief to the walls of my buildings. Look at this ramshackle workshop. The print is really lovely, the colours are fantastic, but to my mind it's a little bit flat, and stonework should have a little bit of relief. That's not a problem, we can fix that. Scribing stonework, just running something along the mortar lines to give it a bit of relief, is a really simple job. All you need is one readily available tool to do it. My scribing tool is a simple little thing I picked up from the trade a few years ago. I think this is a fancy pants American version with a nice wooden handle and a pointy bit with a ball on the end. But the same tool actually is available from a lot of art shops. Again, wooden handle, pointy bit on the end with a ball right at the tip so that you don't dig through the cardboard. And to use it, all you do is draw along the lines between the stones. Job that takes you a little while, but it's certainly worth it. It's not just for stonework either. On this footbridge, you can see I've scribed the lines where the wooden planks are on the sides. Now, the main reason I've done that is because I wanted to paint my footbridge in a different colour to the rest of the kit. So putting those lines in just means that they show up underneath the paint. And finally, let's look at the roof of a building. Not something you can easily avoid with a model railway because we tend to look down on them. And one of the problems with a lot of card kits is simply that you've got very flat printed roofs. Now, the colours are great. That's brilliant. But they do, again, lack a bit of texture. But it's not a problem because there are ways around that. If you look at these two buildings here, you can see the roofs have really come to life. And that's because I've added some proper slates to the top of the building. Slates arrive on a sheet of high quality cardboard. These ones are from Scale Model Scenery, but others are available. And what you do is you simply take the individual strips, and here you are, you can see I've cut one out of the sheet, and then you put them on using the printed slates as a guide. You simply put them on the roof, glue them in position with PVA, and then glue the next one above that, making sure that the gaps between the slates don't line up so it looks nice and realistic. And you just work your way up the roof and job done. I'll admit this isn't a quick job. Doing this cottage probably took me best part of 3 hours, but I think after I've done that and attacked it with a bit of weathering powders, I think it really makes a difference. It's not just slates, of course. The roof of the footbridge benefits from having some proper corrugated iron put along the top. Again, just a simply bit of slaters stuck in place with Yoo-hoo. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that little run through of methods to personalise your own buildings, and I hope it's given you some ideas for your own modelling.